capital of the state, baby. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. It is about 9 o'clock Tuesday morning. This was brought to my attention that maybe I needed to do a video, two different videos. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. 87 SS Boy suggested that I do a video on how to test a relay to see if it's good or bad, and he also suggested to me to do a video on how to determine CFM and what is CFM for your radiator. So what's up, Metal Art? So that's what this video is going about. We're going to try to keep it short. So we're going to do two different times. We're going to do this live, and then I'm going to redo it, and I'm going to do it for a premiere. And we're going to see which one gets more views and which one gets more foot traffic. A live or a premiere. My lives do way better than my premieres. Way better. So we're going to sit on here for just a few minutes and kick it up. And we're going to wait like 5 minutes. Let some people get in here. And then we're going to get to it, and I'm going to explain to you. Took a sick day. Well, hate to hear that. Let me get me something to set on. And so, like I said, I'm gonna try to explain this the best I can. Let me wipe my fingerprints off this thing. And then we're gonna, so while we're waiting, it was 105 yesterday. So, everybody was asking me how to clean. Well, this is just a filler until we get a bunch of people on here. Was asking me how you clean and polish aluminum. Well, to clean and polish aluminum, you have to get the anodize off. To get the anodize off before you can polish it, for like Tulu. Tulu was trying to polish those pieces, which they came out really, really nice, right? Really, really nice. But you can only get them so nice with the anodize on, right? So with the anodize, so you have to get the anodize off. So this right here, this Pro Brown, let me turn this camera around and I'll show you. This is coil cleaner, and this works for all aluminum. This is outdoor coil cleaner. All right, it's an alkaline cleaner. This right here will strip every bit of the anodize off of the aluminum, so then you can clean it and polish it or brush finish it or whatever you want to do. This right here, oh yeah, it's gonna be hot, man. It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal. Yeah, there's no airflow in here. I'm in the supply room. I come down here because it was easier to do what I needed to do right quick. So we're going to give it about, what's up, Vic? What's up, Ray? What's up, TJ? Good morning, everybody. Just drop in real quick. Yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do another one for the premiere. Probably do a premiere tonight at 7. It'll be a little different than this one, and I'm gonna see which one gets more foot traffic, the live or the premiere. And then when I walk out of here, I got 2 bug bombs that I'm gonna let off, and we'll go from there. What's up, NAIS? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. We're down to the 1 minute mark. We're down to 1 minute warning. We're at 4 minutes, so when we hit 5, we're gonna go to this. I don't know where 87's at. Somebody text 87 and tell his get his donkey tail in here. Y'all hold tight, right? I'm gonna text 87. Y'all hold tight. All right, I'm back. Oh yeah, I guarantee he's sitting in the AC. I guarantee he's sitting in the AC. All right. Speaking of hot, speaking of cold, today right now we're going to talk about AC. We're going to talk about, let me get that glare out. Let me turn this thing around. There we go. Right now we're going to talk about aluminum radiators, or if you got an aluminum radiator in your vehicle, we talking about old school, right? We talking about custom stuff built. That's what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about new stuff. We're not talking about late model stuff. We're talking about custom stuff, LS swaps, building your small block 350, building your small block Ford, your big block Ford, your big block Chevrolet. That's what this right here is referring to. So, what's up, Elko? So, when you're picking your aluminum radiator and your fans, then you have to know there's more to it than say, hey, look, I'm just gonna buy this fan. And then you say, hey man, I got this fan. My car's running hot. I don't know why my car's running hot or my truck running hot. Well, the reason why it's running hot is because what is a radiator, right? What is a radiator, right? What's the purpose of a radiator? All right. The purpose of the radiator is an engine is an air pump. Okay. No matter how you look at it, it's an air pump, right? So with the air pump, so the engine, you got compression stroke, you got intake stroke, you got exhaust stroke. So you got a 4-stroke, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Well, every time the spark plug fires, it creates a combustion and a fire into the cylinder. The cylinder explodes, comes down, pushes the piston down. You got revolution, right? Well, that creates heat. That heat has to dissipate, and to dissipate, there is water jackets in the engine block. It's not a motor. I know somebody's gonna say, yeah, my motor. And a lot of people get corrected. It's not a motor. A motor is electric, an engine is gas, or some type of petrol, right? Some type of fuel. So you have your engine, right? And you have your water jackets. Your water jackets are running through your engine, through your head, through your block, go around your cylinders, everything's running around. How does that get turned around? Your water pump. Your water pump has a fin on the inside of it that's circulating the water, right? So you have radiator hose and you have a thermostat. So the thermostat is set to whatever the manufacturer says you need to be set at. 165, 175, 185, 195, 200, whatever it's supposed to be. Now, there's a lot of people that like to drop in a lower thermostat because they want their engine to run cooler. And in your mind, you would think that's what you want. Well, actually, that's wrong. You don't want to run it cooler. An engine has to run at an optimal temperature to perform the way it needs to perform, right? So a small block Chevrolet and a big block Chevrolet, they like to run 195, right? I know some people put 175 thermostats in it, and somebody's gonna say, well, if they didn't want me to put a 175 thermostat in there, then why did they make it? Why doesn't a frog have wings when he bumps? He wouldn't bump his ass. I don't know why they didn't make it, but if you look in the back, if you look in the installation manual of a small block Chevrolet or a big block, it says optimal running temperature, 185 to 195. That is the optimal temperature for it to run, okay? So what people, and then you have your upper radiator hose and your lower radiator hose, right? The thermostat is, the thermostat, its job is to hold the water back. There is a weep hole on the side of it. I forgot to put my phone in do not disturb. There's a weep hole on the side of it that lets the water pass, a little bit of water pass. There is some engines, some intakes have a bypass valve or a bypass hose what lets a little bit of water circulate. So it's constantly circulating, but it's not full throttle circulating. The thermostat, once it reaches a certain temperature, the spring will release and it will open the plunger. By opening the plunger, it lets the mass water, the floodgates, come out of the engine, go through the circulator pump, which is the water pump, mechanical or electrical. We'll get electrical in a minute, but we're talking about mechanical right now. Then it pushes it through the radiator, right? All right. Once it goes to the radiator, it comes to the radiator, then it comes through the bottom, and it goes back into and it keeps continuing this cycle. All right? Keeps continuing this cycle. What that is doing, it is dissipating the heat from the engine block to the radiator, and then the radiator is on the front of the engine. All right? You have a mechanical, I don't know, we had a glitch. So you have a mechanical fan. We're going to talk about mechanical fans. So you have a mechanical fan that's on the front of the engine, right? The mechanical engine is hooked to a clutch. Sometimes it's on a clutch, sometimes it's direct. If it's on a clutch, sometimes that clutch goes bad and it lets the fan slip and it doesn't spin like it needs to spin. With that mechanical fan on the front of the engine block, what it's doing, it is surrounded by a radiator shroud. That radiator shroud is a funnel, like a wind tunnel. It is pulling air in like this through the radiator, or radiator, ever how you want to say it. It is pulling through the radiator fresh air as you're sitting still and moving, and it's bringing the water temperature down. Therefore, it's cooling the engine. Therefore, the engine temperature is going down to stay where it needs to go. All right. This is just with straight water, no antifreeze, no nothing. Right. So, boiling point of water is 212 degrees. Right. Okay. You got to understand how water works and how to boil. Now, a radiator system is not an open system. It is a closed system because it has a radiator cap. It is not open to the outside atmosphere. So it will, under pressure, like a pressure cooker, under pressure, you are lowering the boiling point, right? When you add antifreeze, you're lowering the boiling point. So if boiling point is at 212, boiling, right? 212 boils water, and you add antifreeze in there, you have risen the boiling point higher depending on the type of antifreeze that you use. Let's say you use antifreeze that lowers the boiling point or raises the boiling point to 250. Meaning the water's not going to boil until it gets to 250, right? Why would your water get to 250? A lot of reasons. Blown head gasket, all that stuff. We're not going to get into that. That's a totally different video. We're trying to figure out what type of fan that you need on your aluminum radiator, right? So now, all that's mechanical. So the job for the radiator is to remove heat from the engine to dissipate the heat, to bring the heat down. That's the whole purpose of the radiator. Okay, now, you take your old aluminum radiator, or you take your old radiator out. You want to get rid of your mechanical fan, and you take your factory radiator shroud out, right? Then you buy an aluminum radiator, okay? Let's say you buy aluminum radiator with fans. Now, you have to figure out, now you have eliminated the mechanical fans, you have eliminated the stock radiator, you have eliminated the radiator shroud. So basically you've eliminated the wind tunnel, right? And you thrown it out. Now you have an aluminum radiator. That aluminum radiator now is taking place of the old radiator, the fans, and the shroud, all three together. It's getting rid of them, right? So now you have to figure out what fans you need for your engine, all right? That's what you need. So if you buy an aluminum radiator on eBay and it has one fan on there, and you're like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. I get a fan, I get that radiator for 200 bucks. And then you get it and you put it in your car, put it in your truck, put it whatever, and now you got heating issues. Now, you like, man, I don't understand. I took that old radiator out. I put the aluminum radiator in there. I thought the aluminum radiator is supposed to be best and blah, blah, blah. And my car's running hot. Man, this is bullshit. Then you get online and you talk about, man, this stuff's a piece of crap. This is garbage. This is this. But it's not garbage because you don't understand how it works. You just bought the first thing that you see. And it's like, hey, it's a radiator with a fan. It should work, right? Not necessarily. Right. We're going to talk about that too, Mike. Pushers and pullers. All right, we're going to talk about that. But let me show you how to figure out what fans that you need. There is a very simple formula, very simple, all right, to figure out what CFM, what is CFM. All right, I'm going to turn this around after I get me a little bit of swallow of this go-go juice, and I'm going to show you, I got over here on the thing. I need me a big whiteboard in here. All right, let's go. All right, here we go. CFM, all right? CFM, what does CFM stands for? Cubic feet per minute. That means how much air is moved, how much cubic air, and a cube is length times width times height times width, right? A cube, you know, like a Rubik's Cube. How much cubic feet per minute is moved in a minute, right? Now, that's what CFM stands for, right? When you see that. Same thing on air compressors, but we're talking about radiators. CFM. All right. Now, the general rule is 2.5 times the horsepower. All right. 2.5, that means those parentheses means times the horsepower. For example, if your car or truck makes 200 horsepower, all right? If your car makes 200 horsepower, you say 200 parentheses times 200 parentheses equals 500 CFM. So that tells me if I'm going to take my stock radiator out, my stock mechanical fan, and my stock radiator shroud out, and I'm going to put an aluminum radiator in place of it, and my truck or car makes 200 horsepower, then I say 200 times 2.5 times 200 equals 500 CFM. So that means I need to find an aluminum radiator that has 1 or 2 fans that will equal 500 CFM. That's what I need. All right. Now, let's say my vehicle makes 300 horsepower. Same concept. 2.5 times 300, 750 CFM. All right. Now, same concept. Let's say my engine makes 400 horsepower. All right. 2.5 times 400 is 1,000 CFM. All right. Let's say my engine makes 500 horsepower. 2.5 times 500 is 1,250 CFM. So it's real simple. So the formula is 2.5 times the horsepower rating of your vehicle, right? And then that's where you're at. Now, I know some guys is probably going to say, okay, well, my vehicle makes 300 horsepower, and I can get this 1,250 CFM radiator, CFM fans. I can get it, so I'll just put that on there. Okay, you think that would be good? Okay, cool. All right. So then you buy this radiator for 500 horsepower, and you only got 300 horsepower. Sometimes more is not best, right? So what's going to happen is this thing, you're going to cool it down way too much, way too fast, and then you're going to have a lot of issues. Now, let's say if you're running fuel injection and the water temperature sensor is running off of the temperature of the engine to tell the computer, like Holly and stuff like that, or Phytech or whatever, and it's telling it, hey, look, this is the temperature of the vehicle. We need to add more fuel. We need to take fuel away. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to bump the timing down. We need to bump the timing up. So if you put a larger fan more than you're making, what you're doing is you're changing the parameters of the computer to read the sensors to tell you what the engine is doing. So big is not always best, right? Big is not always best. Now, I will say this. Now, let's say that you have a 400 horsepower engine and you're planning on putting air conditioner, whatever. Say whatever you got, and you put an air conditioner on, and then later on down the road, you're going to upgrade and you're going to build the engine up or whatever. Then you can plan ahead, because if you run an AC, then when you run an AC on the front of the radiator, you have a condenser. Well, that condenser is going to get hot. So either that condenser is going to have another fan on it, or you're going to have to make this fan compensate for that. So if you have a radiator on the front of it and then you have the condenser on the front of it, the condenser is getting hot because the AC system, therefore you need to cool it down too. So how do you figure out how much CFM do you need? This is how you do it. The horsepower, 2.5 times the horsepower gives you the rating. Now, here's another thing you got to look at. Coverage, right? Coverage, right? Coverage, right? Let's say your radiator is 2 foot by 2 foot, right? So how you figure out the square footage of that, right? So if you say 2 times 2, that comes up to be 4 square foot, right? 2 foot times 2 foot is 4 square foot. Now, let's say it's inches, right? Say it's 24 inches by 24 inches. That's okay. Or say it's 26 inches by 26 inches. And you don't know how to figure out square footage. That's not a problem. Do it all in inches, right? So let's say it's 24 inches times 24 inches. 24 times 24 is 576 square inches. Divide that by 144, which is what 12 times 12 is, right? That's a square inch, 12 times 12. That comes up to be like 2.5 square foot, right? Actually comes up to be 1.75 or 1 3/4, right? So that means your fan, one fan or two fan needs to cover at least 70% coverage of the radiator to be efficient, right? So if you have a 2 foot and a 2 foot and you put a 10-inch fan, that's not enough. That's not enough. You need to cover 1.75 or 1 3/4 or 70% of it, right? So if your radiator is 27.75 or 27 3/4, you say 27 3/4 times 27 3/4, whatever you get, you divide it by 144, and that will tell you what the square footage of it is, and then you figure out what that goes around there, okay? Now, that's that. So here's another thing, right? High humidity and high heat, you might need a bigger fan, right? So if you're in a place where there's a lot of humidity and high heat, you might have to have more fan to circulate more air. So you got a lot. This is at sea level, right? This right here, what I'm telling you, is at sea level, right? I'm at 650 feet above sea level. This is what this is at. You'll have to adjust for that, okay? Mountains and high altitude, you'll have to change that as well. There's a little stipulation on this where you have to change this formula, but nothing too major we're gonna get into right now. Okay, back to Mike's question. You have pullers and you have pushers, right? And what does that mean? If the engine is sitting right here and you have a fan, right? And a fan wires up, it's either a blue wire and a black wire. And the cool thing about these fans is you can reverse it. So positive and negative, or you can reverse the lead on it. So if one wire is positive and the other wire is negative, you can reverse them. And what it'll do is change the polarity of the motor, because the motor on the fan, it's electric motor, and it will go clockwise or counterclockwise, right? So if you put a puller on there, what it's going to do is pulling air this way, right, to the engine. If you put the fan on the outside and you make it a puller, what it's going to do, it's going to pull air this way. It's going to pull air away from the engine, right? Then you have pushers, right? You wire it up the opposite way, and if you put, this is a radiator, and then this is the fan, all right? And you put a pusher, then it's going to push air through the radiator and out of the car. If you put it on this side, right, and it pushes, it's going to push it towards the engine. Mike asked the question, what do I like, a pusher or a puller? It just depends on where it's at, right? I don't really have a preference. A lot of people says you want to get the heat away from the engine, so I guess a pusher would get it away from it. A puller would bring it towards it. So it really doesn't matter, because when you're going down the road, the air is going through the radiator, pushing it through the radiator into the engine compartment and out. So I hope that helps somebody. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. So it's 24 minutes. So this is how you figure out what size fan that you need, CFM, for your build, right? So if you're taking the stock radiator, the stock mechanical fan, the stock radiator shroud out, and you're putting an aluminum radiator in there, and you're trying to figure out what size CFM, and CFM means cubic feet per minute, right? Cubic feet per minute. This is how you figure it out. So if you got a 200 horsepower, the rule of thumb is 2.5 times whatever your horsepower is, comes up to the CFM. And if you're running air conditioner, you could go up one, right? So if it's 500, then I would go up to 750 because if you don't have a lot of room to run multiple fans. Now, if the AC, some AC systems have their own fans, and if they do, that's fine. You don't have to worry about it. But if you don't have real estate and room to run multiple fans, then what I would do, if you had a 200 horsepower vehicle and it come up to be 500 CFM, then I would see how much CFM it takes to cool that condenser down, right? I would do this right here. I'd measure the condenser, get the square footage, and then find out how much CFM it's going to take to cool that down. Whatever that is, I add that to that, and then I get the next one up, right? So if it come up to be that the radiator that I needed was 750 CFM, right? And let's say my engine was 200, which is 500. And this right here added another 150, right? So 5, 6, 7, that's 700. 750, that's 50, right? I would go to the next one up. If it adds up to be 750, I'd go to the next one up. I would increase it by one, right? Or, 750. I would get it, 850, 950, whatever, right? That's what I would do on that to upgrade that. So I'm going to do a premiere on this too. I'm going to drop the premiere. Probably try to do it tonight at 7 o'clock. But I wanted to do live. So I wanted to do live to see which one does better. I'm going to do 30 minutes. So this right here, just a recap. You got CFM, which is cubic feet a minute. To figure out the rule of thumb, you got 2.5 horsepower. So 2.5 times the horsepower will give you the CFM rating. You got to pick the room, like push or pull, and that's just the polarity on the fans. And then you need to cover at least 70% of the radiator to get efficiency. So you just multiply, if the radiator's 2 foot this way, 2 foot that way, then most of them's gonna have fans anyway. Like the one on eBay I got for the 63 Impala or El Camino, it was like $250, and it came with 2 fans, and the engine is 400 horsepower, and the fans, so the engine is 347 horsepower. So those fans right there are 500 CFM per fan. So that's 1,000 CFM, plus it's running air conditioner. I only needed about 850. So if you say 347 times 2.5, I needed about 850, 875 CFM. So I ordered the radiator with 1,000 CFM. So that will cover the engine and the AC compressors. Well, metal art, I thought everyone needs to go to. That's what I was saying. You got pullers and pushers. I was told the same way, but on my 54 Bel Air, I didn't have the room, so I have a pusher, or I have a puller. So on my 54 Bel Air, I have a fan on the front of the radiator that pulls out. So if you stand in front of the car, it blows hot air out, so it sucks this way. Because I didn't have room on this side, right? I tried to run a push, right? I tried to push it through, and the car run hot. When I reversed the polarities of it and pulled it out, it didn't run hot. Well, it run a little bit warm, like 210, 212, 210. It's got a 195 thermostat in it. So I just changed the polarity on the fans, and it went the opposite way, and then it drops it down. So this is just a rule of thumb. This is right here, look, the key word, general rule. General rule. There is stipulations to that rule. This right here is a good starting point, right? Right, this is a good starting point, right? So hey, Elco, that radiator that I got yesterday, that radiator will fit in a El Camino. Same radiator, 63 Impala, same radiator for El Camino. So I hope this helps somebody out. We're at the 30-minute mark. Should you shroud it away? It's fine. I mean, if you're running a mechanical fan, you need a shroud. If you take the shroud out and have a mechanical fan, it's going to run hot. It's going to run hot every time. It's going to run hot every time. If it's sitting still, she's going to run hot. She's going to run hot. This is for electric fans. This is for electric fans and for mechanical water pumps. This is not for electrical water pumps. That is something completely different. That is a completely different topic. This is your stock water pump with an aluminum radiator with electric fans, right? And this is the rule of thumb. General rule is 2.5 times the horsepower. So again, if you got a 200 horsepower car, you multiply 200 times 2.5, that comes up to 500 CFM. You also want to make sure that you're covering 70% of the radiator. So to figure out how big your radiator, say you have a radiator right now and you want to take your mechanical fan out, but your stock radiator is good, and you want to be able to put you want to put electrical fans on there. That's fine. So what you do is you measure your radiator. So if your radiator measures 2 foot by 2 foot, that's 4 square. So 70% of 4 square is 1.75, right? So you need a fan that's going to cover at least that much of the thing, right? So can we measure CFM? Yeah, that's a whole. Most of the time, Mike, that is listed on the fan's description on the thing, because it has to do with the pitch of the blades. It has to deal with the windings of the motor, how fast it's spinning. All that stuff comes up to that. So if you have a fan now and you're trying to figure out the CFM, you got to know the blade length, how many blades it has, like if it's a 3 blade, a 4 blade, a 5 blade, and you have to know the RPMs of the electric motor. Then there's another formula you can figure out. I have that you can figure out how much CFM that fan makes. But most of the time when you buy a new fan, it's all in the description. So, yeah, should be on there. That's right. All right, boys and girls, I hope that helps somebody out. I got to get to it. I got some other stuff I got to do today. It's going to be hot, 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 hot. I think it's supposed to be like 110, 115, black flag. I just got a text message saying it's Black Flag Day. So if you're outside, make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you stay safe, and take breaks, or just just say, hell with it, I'm done. So I'm going to do a live, I'm going to do a premiere, and I'm going to post a premiere. I'm going to try to do it at 7 o'clock tonight if I can get it edited and stuff. I've already done it, but I talked to 87 this morning, and he's like, hey, bro, just do a live too, and let's see what happens. So, yeah, that and electrolytes. I drink a shitload of these. And here's the cool thing about these. For every 2 that I buy, I get 25 cents off of fuel. So every time I buy 2 of these, I get 25 cents off gas. So the other day, I got gas for 97 cents. That ought to tell you something. So I got gas for 97 cents a gallon. Come on now, don't do it. I appreciate every single one of you. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And remember what I said, boys and girls. Don't worry about the man up the road or down the road. Sweep off your own front porch while sweeping off anybody else's. Put God first, so loosen and drag. Peace on chin grease. I'm out. Let go.